Our parents and grandparents need our vigilance in a world full of predators seeking to prey upon them. Let's protect them, shall we? Stay with me and we will discuss how. Greetings, daters of all ages. I'm John F. Whitney, author of the book, I Do, If It's Equitable, a philosophy for dating and marriage to avoid the potential horrors of divorce. I will be your host and your guide as we discuss the I Do philosophy. This is Section 7, Video 1 of 1, Preserving Our Parents and Grandparents' Golden Years. The red square at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen is a subscribe button. If you feel I'm doing a good job, might you please consider clicking that subscribe button anytime during this video. From the personal ads. The title, Summer Seeks Winter. Affectionate, beautiful, playfully fun, 39-year-old white female seeks 60-year-old gentleman who is financially successful and would like to pamper me. Preserving our parents and grandparents' golden years. Reminiscing. Perhaps the best way to see the erosion of marriage and the devastation of divorce is by looking back at how things used to be. There was a time years ago when our parents and grandparents were courting and marrying that honor, loyalty, trust, and commitment were given and expected without question. In those days, couples could walk the streets without fear. In fact, homes were rarely locked. A handshake or a man's word alone was sufficient to close a deal and was more binding than written contracts of today. Premarital sex was considered immoral. A gentleman did not seek it, and the lady did not give it. Unwed mothers faced social scorn. Illegitimate children were considered an embarrassment. The men and women of our parents' and grandparents' generations remained faithful to each other, enduring through hardship, difficulty, and ordeals we modern-day men and women seem unwilling or unable to overcome. It is because of these changes that I fear for the men and women of our parents and grandparents' generations, especially if they have lost their lifelong spouse and suddenly find themselves alone for the first time in their lives. This puts them at risk and vulnerable. Male scam artists, who think nothing of stealing every penny they can, typically target women over 60 who have a lifetime of savings and equity at risk. These women are vulnerable because they remember a time when the man took care of everything. People were expected to do the right thing, and honor prevailed above all. What chance do they have against the do unto others mentality of today's society? Men over 60 with a lifetime of savings and equity at risk face a different type of scam artist. These scam artists come in the form of female gold diggers who target vulnerable, successful men to acquire every cent these men possess. Let's be honest. Countless examples exist where the younger woman marries the older man. Funny how these women never marry poor older men. But I digress. Mere months later, they are divorced, and she has stripped him of every possible cent she could. What right did she have to the fruits of his lifelong effort? What equity in these fruits did she earn? Using a business analogy, could she have been hired by a major corporation, remained with it for mere months, then walk away with 50% of the stock? I think not. Then why is she able to essentially steal from him all he had earned in a lifetime by marrying him for an insignificant length of time. Good morning. Time for your wake-up call. I was taught to respect my elders. I do not presume to possess wisdom beyond theirs. In fact, it's probably a safe bet that most men and women over 60 have forgotten more about life's lessons than I have yet to learn. However, we who allow the decay of our society to be our norm must warn the previous generations of the dangers that await once they are alone or begin dating again. Moreover, we owe it to our parents and grandparents to be ever vigilant, always on guard, never far removed or too busy to shield them from the scam artists and gold diggers lurking in the shadows. Why? Our parents and grandparents lived during a time when peace and security were taken for granted. They worked long and hard to earn what they have, believing that one day they and their children would enjoy the fruits of these labors. Granted, sometimes the children will squabble over these possessions. But far worse is when a scam artist or gold digger comes along and steals these possessions away. Our parents and grandparents should not have to spend their golden years living in fear because a scam artist or gold digger stole every penny in possession they owned. These material and financial possessions must serve one purpose only: to assure that our parents and grandparents do not fear for food or shelter during their golden years upon earth. We, their children and grandchildren, have a duty and obligation to return the unconditional love and protection they gave us, with or without the I Do philosophy as a guide for them or us to rely on. Case study. I want a girl just like the girl. I want a girl just like the girl comes from a song. A free copy of the book, I Do If It's Equitable, to the first person who, in the comments below, can complete this line of that song. Mr. Jones is a 58-year-old retired engineer. He had been married for 37 years to the same loving and supportive woman. She passed away 2 years ago. Since then, he has opened his spacious and very comfortable home to his divorced daughter and her 2 children. His son and his son's future second wife are maintaining a home in Florida belonging to their father. Mr. Jones meets a 35-year-old woman at an antique bookstore. Soon thereafter, much to the surprise of everyone, she begins visiting and eventually staying over at his home. He is very uncomfortable with her staying over, especially with the grandchildren living there. Offsetting this problem, however, is her charm. She is attentive to his needs. She prepares his meals. She would love him, she claims, even if he were a ditch digger. Before long, she becomes the new Mrs. Jones. She changes almost immediately, becoming cold, distant, and indifferent. She remains away from home often for entire weekends. She becomes angry if he questions her as to her whereabouts. Shopping for new wardrobe becomes almost a daily event for her. Friction builds in the home between the daughter and her new stepmother. Mr. Jones' health suddenly declines. Mrs. Jones files for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Although married for a mere 8 months, she demands half of his entire estate. Mr. Jones is hospitalized. That very day, Mrs. Jones evicts his daughter and grandchildren. She places a lien on the Florida property. Never does she visit him in the hospital, even when it is evident that his days are numbered. Instead, citing her status as his wife, she closes out his bank accounts and places all of his property on the market. How could the I Do philosophy have served Mr. Jones and his family? I firmly believe in the adage, the proof is in the proving. Remember, this woman claimed she would love him even if he was a ditch digger. Fine, put this to the challenge. How? Mr. Jones should have recalled the some men or women have it and some men or women married to get it rule. If she accepted, we believe, item 1, which states, any possessions or financial gains earned by each partner prior to the relationship do not become an asset of the relationship. If she accepted, we believe, item 3, once divorced, any advance in lifestyle which is the result of the other partner's income is forfeited. And if she accepted, we behave, item 7, I will not expect to gain more from the relationship than I have equitably earned from it. And finally, if she embraced, will behave, item 8, I will not expect to leave the relationship in a financial position greater than entering it unless I have equitably earned the same. Any or all of these would have proved to everyone that her statement was true. Moreover, will behave, item 11, the well-being of any children is and will remain a priority, could have been discussed with respect to the grandchildren. If she agreed that their well-being must be assured, then her intentions were likely honorable. On the other hand, if she balked at any of these beliefs, then her true intentions would have been exposed before the marriage, not after. In retrospect, had he strictly applied will behave, item 10 while they were dating, which states, I will not dishonor myself or my partner by engaging in behavior which is deceitful, cruel, unkind, or immoral. Her insistence in violating his moral boundaries should have prompted him to terminate their relationship. This alone would have prevented the ultimate disaster that occurred. Any of these I Do elements would have either exposed the selfish intentions she was hiding or protected him from them. The time for him to have exposed her true intentions was before the marriage, not after. The time for him to protect himself and his family from Mrs. Jones, number 2, was before he married Mrs. Jones, number 2. This concludes our discussion on preserving our parents' and grandparents' golden years. Granted, it might not be easy trying to urge a parent or grandparent to proceed cautiously in a new relationship, especially if they are fulfilled by it. If nothing else, just let them know that you are returning the kind guidance they gave you. If you want to see the I Do philosophy in action, watch Section 3, Video 1 of 2, a real-world example of the I Do philosophy. If you learned anything of value, please consider hitting that like button and share button. Leave me a comment, especially if you have a question, concern, problem, or issue we might be able to solve together. Or perhaps you can assist me in improving my presentations to you. And finally, if you feel that I am worthy of your time and effort, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you will know when I upload a new installment of the I Do philosophy. Until next time, date wisely, date safely, and remember, I do if it's equitable.